Good evening, activists, and welcome to a deja vu. This is the Accidental Activist. I'm Chanda Masta, your host, and behind the curtain, I have Oz Lefebvre engineering for me tonight, and I have my amazing guest, Miss Amber King, host of A Brave New Future and many shows on Uphill Media, including The Daily Dive. Welcome, Amber.
Good evening. It's so strange to say good evening when I normally say good morning.
I think I've heard that before.
I know.
So I was telling people how amazing you are and how much fun it is to work with you at Uphill. And tonight we're just hanging out, two girls jabbing and, learning a little bit about you and your life and what got you involved in activism, because I know you're an amazing activist and you fight for some incredible causes and issues. So we're going to kind of roll into you as a child. So you were telling us earlier about how you grew up in Alaska on a sailboat. Please elaborate.
Yeah. So I was born in Edmonds here in Washington State, where my family's been for, well, some of them for eternity and others in the last several hundred years. And I moved to a little town called Petersburg on Mitkof Island, which is nestled almost dead center in the middle of Southeast Alaska, right next to the mainland, but it is on an island. It's a town of about 3,000 fishermen. Yeah, it was small town living. I grew up in a logging camp where we were caretakers. And then in the summertime, I'd fish with my dad on our sailboat. This is little pictures of me and my dog, but this was my childhood. It was rather idyllic. It was playing in the woods, and I had swings, and I actually had a swing with garnets that were in my birthstone. That at the logging camp, when they were building the roads, they found a garnet mine, and so they'd bring like truckloads of the garnet rocks back to camp, and then they'd chip them and mine them while they were back at camp. And so I had this swing when I was little, and it was just like when the sun hit it, it just glittered with
that's
little
awesome.
Fragments of my birthstone. But it was a very magical place.
That sounds amazing. I don't want a garnet swing. What is this picture up in the very top that's in like black and white?
Certainly. So that I believe is third grade play. I played Liberty.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that. Next to my also named partner in that being, I believe she was, I can't remember, Freedom,
Justice, Freedom.
Yeah, it was a political play of all things, and yeah, super funny. But we had the same name. There was, growing up in my little class of 41, there was two Ambers. One was blonde and one had dark hair, and our parents went to high school together.
Oh, of course. That's Alaska, though. That's just, I
hear that. Alaska is like a very small town, like the entire state, and everybody you know in it. So it's been pretty amazing. Everywhere I go, I tend to find somebody who has a connection to Alaska that I normally know, like their cousin or their uncle, or
right
fished on their boat. It's a very cool spot. I miss it very dearly, and still have family there. And my kids normally go up and visit every summer, so they're definitely missing their July in Petersburg.
Oh, yeah. But that's so good for them to get that outdoors, understand the environment and what we're fighting for to protect and save, because it really is the last frontier for.
Oh, yeah. Country. It's running down the street and making forts in the ditch and the trees. Right. And coming home, it stays light till midnight in the summertime. So somebody's got to yell for you to come home, or you just stay out there all night.
Stay out all night. So this is you catching fish. I take it fishing. But what is this one on the bottom? Is that a glacier?
That is a glacier. So one of my most favorite places in the world, which actually where this picture behind me, right, there we go, is called Castle Mountain. It's up the Stikine River. And so that picture is actually taken almost in the foreground of that mountain. Uh-huh. And it's Shakes Glacier, and there's a Forest Service cabin there. And I would go up on these Bible trips, and we'd go in open river boats up 200 miles up the Stikine River into BC, British Columbia. And this one year I went, and I was the only girl. I was living with my dad at the time down in Seattle area. And so I'd go back up for summers to, hang out or start, most of the time I was working, but I got to go on this Bible trip, and I was the only girl, and they always called this the tough guy swimming hole. And so we're at this trip, and I was the only one who volunteered to go, and then one person came behind me.
That's amazing. Oh my God.
And it was so cold. Like,
I wonder, have you been there? I wonder how it's faring in the changes that we're seeing.
It's still there. Actually, on the other side of the mountains, this is the Coast Range that goes in between BC. It's kind of an extension of the Cascades, but it goes in between, right on the border of Alaska and British Columbia. And the southernmost, so the reason Petersburg even exists is because it had the most southern tidewater glacier in the world, called the LeConte Glacier. And so when they started fishing up there, they had all this ice so they could pack the steamboats and send it down to Seattle to market, which was huge back in the day. But this is literally on the other side, and so cold. But in high school, we did surveying, and we'd actually go and do a survey of the glacier every year. And it's also because it's the the farthest south, it's the fastest moving. So it moves with incredible speed. But I've seen massive environmental change over the years. Thankfully, this glacier is still here. But it's probably much smaller. I haven't seen it in 15.
Well, it's great that you know the topography so well that you'll be able to visually see the changes. I mean, and that sucks, but I'm glad that there's people that know it so well. Oh, Chris, the Natural Progressives in the house. Thank you, Chris. We love you, and we hope that you're doing well tonight. Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, Oz, you want to flip us to the next slide? This is the longest slideshow I've ever done on accidental activists, but I love it because there was just so much. I was like, I want to know about this, and I wanted to know about this. My style is I will go snoop through basically guess Facebook, their social media, and just try to find things to ask them about. So that's kind of what we're doing tonight. And I've always known that you've been heavily involved with Moms Across America. And honestly, I hadn't known much about it other than they fought for clean food. And really just, being in your presence the last 6 months, I'm really starting to pay attention to that more. And you want to explain that and how you got involved?
Yeah, certainly. So Moms Across America, I was actually one of the founding, I guess, local leaders that helped them get their paperwork started. We are dedicated. It's a nonprofit based in the U.S. and California, but it has members in every single state, territory, and there's also a Moms Across the World. And we have gone international several times, and it's been this amazing group of moms trying to clean up our environment for our children. We started noticing our kids getting sick at really young ages, getting diagnosed with autism, asthma, like just all kinds of insane things. And the Western medical system was absolutely no help in any of it. And I being a culinary professional, so after I was done fishing, I went to culinary school. And so I knew about GMOs, very early on, probably in like 94. And they hadn't even really been released into the environment. And, how it was explained to me, they were, of course, selling this awesome technology. And I just thought there's no way in hell American farmers are giving up their seed rights. There's no way. And then I moved to Alaska and spent a fair amount of time in Alaska. And
this was as an adult, though, right?
Yeah, as an adult. Went back in my 20s, actually got in a really terrible camping accident and burned my face off. So I couldn't actually, no pictures of that on Facebook. I couldn't cook for a long time, and I couldn't open an oven for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So there's no way I could work in a kitchen. And so I stayed in Alaska where it was cold and damp and not a lot of sunshine. But I got involved with Moms Across America through another company called Neil's Yard Remedies, which is a direct sales company out of the UK. And they had heard about Moms Across America, and they fight really hard on the same things on their end. And of course, knew how dangerous GMOs were going to be, not only in the market, but in the amount of chemical sales, which we, of course, now have seen skyrocket. So what we did, we're thinking like we're a bunch of moms, we got kids, like how do we be active, and I had been an activist for a long time, but I really wanted to help this cause because here it's a bunch of moms trying to figure out what to do and involve their kids. So we started doing 4th of July parades all across the country.
Right, yeah.
It's a great way. Your kids, everybody's got the day off.
I've done quite a few parades.
Patriotic, and usually there's, food. It's a picnic. There's, so it's a great way to have that conversation, not only pass out organic candy, but, part of it was teaching parents and giving them resources on how to keep their family healthy and safe. And that just wasn't happening. Going to the doctor or going, testing, like all these different things that we've been doing for a really long time.
Well, so many of us were just not aware. I mean, especially if you're not tapped into the mainstream. So I want to back up just a little bit. You said that this wasn't your first take into activism. So I know that I always ask, what age were you when you became aware of the system? Obviously, from your pictures, you were aware of the system when you were really young. You told me a story a couple of weeks ago of a campaign for a letter writing campaign to the White House or something in 3rd grade where you wanted to know about trade. So I just found that amusing.
Our 2nd grade class wrote letters to Ronald Reagan in the White House. And, I remember my friends asking like what the wallpaper looked like and
what do you eat?
Yeah, what do you eat? And I had hard-hitting questions about Iran-Contra affair.
I love that. So obviously you've been aware of the system that we live in and we're fighting against for most of your life. But what was your very first front line? What got you involved as an activist?
Well, so I got involved being an activist probably around the age of 13. I kind of, I spent my time reading all these crazy books on boats, what I call them kind of like trashy smut novels that are, yeah, but I read a lot of Michener and a lot of, just Anne Rule and, whatever's on the boat, you like to go through it. But what I really enjoyed reading was, things like, Huxley and George Orwell and, Vonnegut, tons of Vonnegut. I kind of really had my own style of information, and I read The 100th Monkey, which is about nuclear proliferation and in the damage that's been done in the South Pacific. And that really fried me.
Yeah. That is a tough one to swallow. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was about 13 and that kind of sent me off the deep end, and I started getting involved, signing up for, it was like ripping things out of magazines and writing your name on them to sign up for things back then.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
We didn't have email or anything. So I just really pushed, learning about that and started reading books and researching in the library. I worked in the library in high school. I was a strange kid. I was a sports kid. I was a rocker, grunge kid. Always a rebel. And my town was very like, Alaska is so conservative Republican, kind of half like independent, it's a strange mix. It's definitely the last frontier, and people act like it all the time. So we were doing a lot of, I remember being, I think it was, I was like one of the only people in my class voting for Dukakis and like,
no, not Dukakis.
and the funnier thing too was like, we never really talked about politics at my house. Like the news was on, but we only had 2 TV channels growing up.
Yeah. Especially, I know I lived in the north up here and we didn't have anything. You might get a little bit of Canadian TV.
Yeah, we just had the 2. We had PBS and 1 regular news channel. And that was it.
Right.
So it wasn't a big feature focus. I don't remember my parents talking about politics or anything. But I was always like super opinionated and heavily engaged. And then the WTO riots happened, in my late teens, early 20s, and that was the first time being maced,
right.
It was, that was my first real frontline. And it just happened that I was at the right spot at the right time. Prior to that, I was at a lot of concerts and
right. Being a kid,
sneaking into the grunge scene wherever I could in downtown Seattle.
Right. Me too. Me too. And that's, I see you and I have a lot of similarities in the way that we grew up because we grew up in the Pacific Northwest. You had to be that kind of tough chick, rocker chick, outdoorsy, but intelligent, well read. Yeah. I relate to so much of your story and who you are. Aj, you want to flip us to the next slide? Please. I watched the playback the other day and I'm like, I never say please to Oz. I'm so rude.
Pretty please.
pretty please. I see he's got his ice cream. Okay, so this is a No Dark Act. You were working with the No Dark Act group?
Yeah, this was with Moms Across America. We banded up with as many organizations as we could. This, I believe, I want to say 2017, 15. It might have been 15. God, it's been forever.
15, yeah.
I was just trying to look at pictures a while ago and I was like, oh my gosh. So this was when the Dark Act was being passed. When I was in Alaska, I actually started working. I was volunteering for the 522 campaign here in Washington. So that's when I had started having a lot of interaction with, some of the more active leaders, Cindy Black and people like that down here were way back when.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was an Alaskan volunteer fighting for Washington food labeling. And then, this happened and then we had the same vote in Oregon at the same time Colorado and California also lost. By the way, all votes lost by the exact same percentage point.
No way.
To the 10th. Yeah.
Could they be any more blatant?
Yeah, it was nuts. And we fought like hell. And of course, but this was the Dark Act was the federal act. And so a bunch of us from Moms Across America went to Washington, D.C. We put out this call, like nationwide call. It was in October and we delivered, I think it was 350,000 signatures to the EPA. So this picture is out in front of the EPA building.
Nice.
I'm kind of in the back there by the white sign, but we went to the EPA. I also helped. We had about, what was it? Probably 53 meetings that we had scheduled with, different legislative, basically everybody we could in the House and Senate. And so we had buses coming in. We'd had no idea how many people were going to show up. We all met in the basement of the Congressman building, like in some cafeteria that wasn't even open yet to try and like map out who was going to get to which meeting and how we were going to coordinate so that we, made all the appointments and B, we're coordinated. And so I get down there and I'm sitting at this table and the first person I talk to, and she's just like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm so nervous. This is going to be crazy. Oh my, and I'm like, and I've never done this either in deep. So I'm like, yeah, this is going to be crazy. I don't know. Like, what if a bus breaks down? What if like we only have 10 of us? Like, how are we going to make it to 53 meetings? And it turns out that her name was Tammy, and she was the one who started March Against Monsanto. So literally the food movement was built by moms just saying enough is enough.
Yeah.
And we've been very, very close friends also, fellow Capricorn. And we have a lot of similarities all, but just amazing. We had
that's awesome. I'm looking at a March for Monsanto sticker right on my computer right now.
Yeah. So part of the stuff you can do with Moms Across America, even today, is you can sign up, host an event online, and you basically just have to pay like the $17 for shipping, and we'll send you a box of materials. So you can have all of this kind of materials to pass out to your neighbors at events. If you want to be in a parade, if we ever get back to the days of parades,
right.
Whatever it looks like, we want to make sure that everybody has this information and can attend it. So we also had a big rally on the White House lawn, and that it was very powerful. I met a lot of amazing speakers, and
was Obama in the White House or Trump?
This was Obama's White House.
Yeah, it was Obama's
White House. And we were trying to we wanted to do an event. Well, part of it, we left the EPA and we actually went to the Monsanto building is right down the street. And they were actually building Trump Hotel at the end of the block. And we did a light brigade march on top of that. And then we went to the White House gates. And then the next day we were literally on the lawn having a big event, and filming for movies was happening. And there was Dr. Zach Bush was there, and just tons of amazing scientists. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful event. It was kind of the culmination. And then I flew back home to Seattle.
That's awesome. I just want to shout out to the chat. We got quite a few in the chat now. Let's see. We got Chris, the natural progressive, in there. And
shout out for the Capricorn.
Awareness. Jesus went to bed. Good night.
We
get it. It's late. We tried to go earlier, but we're busy. Amber's a busy bee, so trying to get her pinned down to a time was a little challenging. And so I'm thankful that she's here with us today. Oz, can you flip me to our next slide, please? I said please this time. So you sent me a lot of stuff. I tried to consolidate as much of it as I could. So a couple of these I doubled up on. Just thought maybe you can explain them to us.
Yeah, certainly. So those were some of our, GMO, we're not buying it t-shirts that we had. We had kid shirts, and there's still tons of merchandise you can buy. I worked with Full Circle Farm. I was the Alaska sales representative of the largest organic CSA on the West Coast. They actually for a time had operations down in East Bay, down in California also. And that was pretty exciting. That was literally a dream job of like being able to send somebody on the Kuskokwim River at a, fish and game camp, an organic box of vegetables. Because growing up, it was powdered milk, pilot bread, canned everything. A trip to the store, there was 2 types of apples, and you were thrilled as hell if any of them were juicy.
Right.
It was a dream. It really changed between that and Amazon. Totally changed life in Alaska forever.
Yeah, totally.
So, but I've worked with Regeneration International and just a whole host of this whole food fight is literally worldwide and impacts everybody. So
yeah, you so impressed me with your knowledge of the food fight, and you scare me. Honestly, every time I go to eat something now, I'm like, I can't eat that. Amber says I can't eat that.
Yes, and watch your cocaine consumption also, because
my cocaine consumption. Damn it, I cut that back years ago just because I'm poor.
I know the 80s were good to most people, but that's one of the kind of untold things that we absolutely don't talk about enough is that we not only use glyphosate on our own people, but we spray other parts of the country for the CIA in places where we devastate them, cause massive harm, and then wonder why we have a bunch of refugees. So
but a lot of other countries have outlawed it because they're dummying up, right?
Yeah, but we decided to sell it to like Colombia as we're going to kill your crop. But what it did, of course, was dried it out perfectly for them to process.
Right. That makes sense because the way it works. Oh my gosh, I never even thought of that.
And then everybody's super ass sick who's ever done it, autoimmune disease, cancer, like it's off.
So not only will cocaine give you a heart attack, it will give you cancer now. That's a terrible thought. Wow, I never thought of that. Learn something new every day. Oz, you want to slip us through to the next slide? I love this one. You're so blue with Bernie.
Yeah, I know. Full of so much hope and excitement. That was actually our first Bernie event last year. In fact, you can see on the Bernie van, it still says 2019 because he hadn't gotten his stickers.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
2020. He literally was like putting them on 5 minutes before that picture was taken. Because
David
Crow. Yeah.
David.
So that was in Shoreline.
That was in Shoreline.
Okay. And then the other one is a vaccine rally down in Olympia. And that has been a contentious issue. However, I have seen a lot of the conversation change.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in a woman's choice and a mother's choice. And I think, a person who's dying's choice, that all medical procedures should not be mandated and not be controlled by insurance companies or, the government. And it should be, our choice, our risk. Where there is risk, there should be a choice. So
just a question, maybe you'll know the answer to this. With Trump pulling us back out of the CDC or, the funding, does that stop funding of the vaccinations that they're attempting to create for COVID? No.
Sadly, no.
Those are all private
They've already paid the $92 million to the 4 different companies. And we've also spent $100 million on preloaded injectable vaccines or syringes with RIFD tags in them.
Oh, how fun. RFDI tags, go Go ahead.
One of my hidden superhero talents is digging through contracts
And
and
patents,
following the
right?
money
Following the money. That's what you like to do late at night.
late at night. Yep.
Oz, we can go ahead and move to the next slide. I know we started a little bit late. I try to keep us on time. Oh, okay.
Oh, all
Ooh,
right.
what is Sea Trials?
Yeah, sea trails. So sea trails is something I got involved with in Alaska when I was up there after the face burning off. A friend was like, "Hey, come to this community meeting." And the next thing you know, he's like, "Hey, you can go travel." So Sea Trails was trying to do like a Pacific Crest Trail all through Southeast Alaska, because what we found, independent tourism dollars are so more valuable than, say, hopping on a cruise ship and
Right.
spending it at a cruise ship store when you stop. So independent travelers that want to actually like enjoy the beauty and, bring their kayak, we're having a hell of a time getting to all these little communities. They didn't tell you the ferry terminal was 40 miles from town and that there
Right.
wasn't a taxi after 10 p.m., but you got on at 3 a.m. or, so it was really just trying to bolster trails in the region, make a uniform mapped network, but then also help increase and show the value of independent tourism. And so I helped form that and was on the board of directors for 13 years.
Wow. So, you hear a lot of the talk about people going missing in Alaska. Was that ever on your purview when working in that?
It wasn't. I know a lot of people have been attacked by bears.
Right. That's what people think. Oh, they just got attacked by a bear.
Had difficulty for sure, but I haven't personally had anybody just go missing. Most of the time we kind of know what happened or we found them.
Right.
But it is a dangerous place. It's when I got burned, I was 150 miles from anywhere in a skiff with the tide out. So the skiff was beached. So it's and I have all kinds of fun, crazy stories of
I bet
adventures and
living that far out,
getting caught in weather and getting tossed out of bunks on boats. And
I can just see you with a harpoon gun, like standing on the deck of a fishing boat.
Yeah, I guess I should have. I could have sent you a few of those photos too. I have some good ones. But I fished on all the crab boats. I was usually in the summertime doing fish tendering, and then I also worked in the processing plant.
I've done processing. 14. Yeah.
So
unfortunately, I did a sea cucumber boat out of Port Townsend for 2 summers as a teenager, and then I did a processing plant, of course.
But my dad was a diver, and I was his follow the bubbles around rowing.
Yeah, right.
6. I don't know what would have happened if he would have gone under. It's not like I could have done much per se right here.
That's crazy. Yeah, it was a crazy thing to do when I was so young, but I'm glad I look back and, all of these experiences made me who I am and made me understand the fight that we're in at every level, and I know that you are that way too. And that's why I'm so excited that you're running for office. And this next picture, I see you hanging out with a couple of the endorsed Burnocrats like Jason Call and
and Christina.
Yeah, this is at
my friend Alan.
Bernie Van again.
Yeah, this was again pretty early. It was our first the campaign called Washington and said, "We've got this Labor Day event up in Everett and we'd love you to go." And so there was probably a good 35, 40 of us that showed up in t-shirts and marched with all the labor organizers, and then they had kind of like a street fair afterwards. And cool. So we had, of course, nobody had campaign materials at all. So it was just whatever we had left over or had homemade. And then we had a Feel the Burn salsa challenge.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that was super fun. We were able to get little interviews of everybody and send them back to the campaign.
Gosh. We had so much promise. We were going to make this campaign rock and roll. I just cleaned out my van and found a case of Bernie literature and buttons and signs. And I don't have the heart to throw them away. I just set them on the deck. I'm just like, I don't even know what to do with them. Because we were just chugging when it just came to a grinding halt, it feels like.
I know.
So disappointing. I think we got a few more slides, and then I want to talk about your candidacy. Oh, this is when I first started working with Amber. This was our revolution, and these were the town halls? Is this what they
Yeah,
were?
these were our organized to win events that we held over. I think we did 6 all over
Yeah,
Washington State this year.
one's in um Aberdeen and one is in Squim. I know that those are the 2 pictures.
Yeah, and we've been Facebook friends for several years.
Right,
We
right.
just
We
never got
have, but
to hang out in person, which is great.
yeah, it was great. And you were so efficient and so multitask just on it. I was just like, oh my gosh, I have to gravitate towards this woman because she's got the drive that I know I need to grab onto. So
Well,
I
and
appreciate that.
I think a lot. I love events. I've been an event planner. I had my own catering company when I was in my 20s. I managed a bar when I was 21.
Right. I've managed a couple bars too.
So I can do that like quick, like
Yeah.
logistics and
Yeah.
set it up
Yeah.
and roll with it. So
Yeah. Get it done. Yeah.
but it was
So
great. I mean, we had a really good run. We got a lot of people excited,
we
and now it's
did.
just trying to keep them
I
excited
know.
about something and keep
Gosh.
organizing. So we have a Snohomish County Our Revolution meeting on Monday night.
Well, and we got a town hall coming up at the end of the month, don't we?
Yeah, town hall next Thursday on the 23rd, I
Very
believe.
good. So we can keep up. It is sad that we'd built all this energy and then it's just kind of, sitting there petering out right now, but hopefully it'll come back. I know it'll come back in light of what we're facing. Here's a few more rally pictures. I know one of these was at the Big Bernie event in Tacoma.
Yes, I was floor security. It was great.
That's right. You were
totally see everybody in our red berets and our Rev shirts. The picture above is from Port Orchard, actually. I helped some friends do a big Moms Across America march. And then this other picture was when we were in DC. So
that's
that
awesome.
was at our big food, International Food Day, I believe is the week of the October 17th.
Okay, so when I go snoop through a guest's Facebook, normally what I'm looking for is pictures of them that they won't normally brag about. Like, oh, here's a picture of me and Nina Turner, or here's a picture of me and Cornel West. But can I tell you, Amber is so cool that she doesn't photobomb or get the selfies with anybody except for Kenny G.
Yes, this was last year, my friend Monica's birthday, and we went to Jazz Alley, which I used to go to all the time as a kid, and Tula's, which is rest in peace.
Pretty
Tula.
old.
I know. He was funny though. He was rocking it, man. It was great.
I've actually met Kenny G quite a few times. My high school band teacher was college roommates with him at the University of Washington. So we would get to take field trips over there and march around on Husky, field. And we get to go meet Kenny G and hang out in the band room at UW. So it was pretty cool. And he was always a very cool guy.
That's
he always
awesome.
gave back to the kids. Yeah. So
yeah,
when I saw this,
I was a saxophone player myself. So
I was clarinet player. So yeah, I get it.
You'll find most of my pictures are definitely musicians. I do a lot of I'm a brew crew, honorary brew crew at a lot of events, and love my Pickathon fam, which I'm missing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a big music junkie. Now that I'm not stranded in Alaska and have access to go to shows, I try and go to as many as.
Well, I'm a huge music junkie too. We're going to have to hang out together. So I mentioned it earlier, Amber, you are running for office. You are running for Snohomish County Council's position number 4. Is that right?
Yeah. So how's
that going in the time of COVID?
It probably wouldn't have happened unless COVID had happened, because I'd usually be working like 2.5, 3, 4 jobs. So I had time, because of everybody being laid off at the moment. And so they waived the filing fees. Right. So I just was like, let's do it. There'd been a kind of a strange appointment of a sitting House representative to this position. And I just felt like I needed to challenge from the left, and really that, especially with everything going on, like I really just want people who are like bold enough and willing to envision what change could be. And I didn't feel like the same old status quo, neolib, prospect of somebody who didn't have a lot of life experience and hadn't struggled wouldn't be able to understand that as well. And so
exactly.
This is a huge job. It comes with a ton of responsibilities and public health decisions and public safety.
Which I absolutely know you're up for.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I literally have experience in all areas of things that really need to be addressed in this county. So, and having
Right.
lived here my whole life, I care about it tremendously. And, our youth are suffering right now. And I really just want to
Absolutely.
give people a chance, fighting chance.
And I'm behind you 100%. So we have Amber's newly dropped commercial I want to run. You did a great job. I think it's so wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and play it, Oz. Did we stop? What happened? The man behind the curtain is working on it, I suppose, but I love this version. I watched a couple other versions you did. I think this is the best one.
Oh, thanks. This is my daughter's in the back.
You look very, or you're very genuine.
Hi, I'm Amber King, and I'm running for Snohomish County Council Position 4. I come from working class roots with experience building coalitions and bringing budgetary and policy knowledge to represent our district. I intend to focus my efforts on housing, supporting small businesses, and labor, ensuring that we can safely restart and rebuild our economy, schools, and recreation in a healthy and supported manner for the planet and future generations. I was born in Edmonds, and I have lived in this area for over half my life. I call it home with my 2 young daughters. People crave authenticity and transparency, to be listened to, and to see elected officials working hard for the people, not enriching themselves and winning repeated elections. We need comprehensive structural change to ensure recovery from this crisis with a massive course correction for a brighter future for generations to come. Nobody will work harder for working families than I will. I appreciate your support. Please vote for Amber King, Snohomish County Council, Position 4.
Why we keep electing these out of touch, oligarchs or oligarch bootlickers to represent us when they don't represent us. And yeah, we need your voice on the city council or this county council for sure. So how can people help you out and support your campaign?
Certainly. Well, I should have signs either hopefully tomorrow if I'm lucky. So anybody in the Mill Creek, Bothell, or unincorporated Snohomish, Bothell area, as well as Briar, Mount Lake Terrace, and Mill Creek, if you're in those areas and would like to help me distribute signs, that would be amazing. If you'd like to give small dollar donations, that's all I'm accepting. And that is at voteamberking.com is my website.
At voteamberking.com.
Yeah, and I'll probably be looking to do some sign waving in the next couple weeks.
Yay. Gosh, I'm so tired of COVID. I just want to get out there and sign wave and be supportive. But then I'm like, no, I can't. It's a terrible time for this. But you guys, you know what? If you can help, if you can support, please check it out. Please give to these progressive candidates. That's the only way they get their signs. It's the only way they get the materials that they need to reach the voters, especially without being able to door knock and canvass and do the things that we need to do.
It's a totally different environment than I think I normally would have. I'd be heavily fundraising and
canvassing the whole district.
I only want people to give if they can right now. I totally understand the uncertainties, and so I've got this for what it is, and I'm being very conscientious of people's money. Being a poor person myself,
right, and that's what we need. We need people that understand what it's like to be, struggling and you're back against the wall, and to have bills crashing down and debt crashing down on you. Not these frickers that are living in gated communities that, have nice cushy retirements and 401ks. Most of us got ripped off many years ago by the corporate elite. And so this is the type of representation we need. But since I have you here, I know we kind of followed up with our rundown. I want to talk about artificial intelligence. I know that you're the host of Brave New Future, so you're thinking of the future and what's coming. And Oz, I had a clip that came from Chinese Government Television Network, so CGTN, which anybody who's paying attention knows that is the state-ran propaganda media for China, right? Well, anything that comes out of China that way is going to be propaganda. But they covered a convention that was held in Shanghai 2 weeks ago that was all these AI techs. And Elon Musk went out there on stage and said, we're going to be fully autonomous at level 5 in the next year. And so I brought a few clips. I just want to get your insight and take on this and, how it relates to everything for a brave new future.
Yeah, thank you.
AI development. To discuss these issues and more, I'm pleased to be joined by Zhengyu Huang, former White House Fellow and leading education and technology investor, Davide Kali, CEO of Expand, and Pranav Maranganti, CEO of a health tech startup. That is our topic. This is Dialogue. I'm Zhou Yue.
Look at that next.
So let's talk about this year's conference of artificial intelligence in Shanghai. So Zhengyu, what is your takeaway from this year's conference?
I think it was a terrific convening of brilliant minds in this space. Especially given what's going on around the world, artificial intelligence is even more needed as we work to find a vaccine for COVID-19 and as we work to bring the economy back and as the economy shifts towards a digital economy.
Davide, what about your impressions of this annual conference on a very fast developing technology?
Yes, this year it was held online. I actually had the chance to host one of the WIC panel myself. It was about AI disrupting startups. And I was impressed the most by the opening. It was not just a formal one. It provided some very valuable insights as well, even technical. Joshua Benjo, the father of deep learning, introduced a new software approach to simulate COVID-19 diffusion with higher precision, by the way. But the biggest surprise for me was Elon Musk. They announced that Tesla would achieve 5-level autonomous driving by the end of this year. And I have to say, I kind of jumped in my chair because that would be an exceptional result. However, he promised that the same thing last year and targeting the end of 2019. So I personally believe it's not really a realistic goal unless it was referring to the basic functionalities of level 5, which in reality would
move forward, because this guy's really hard to understand and it's really a quiet video, but the further up clips are a little bit more explanatory. The thing is he said that the most exciting thing was when Elon Musk said that we are going to be fully autonomous by the end of the year. And okay, we've heard Elon say this before, but what does that entail? So if you understand how AI, the fully autonomous vehicle is working, that means 5G grids are going to have to be 100% online in order to be fully autonomous, right?
I would imagine so. I don't know, how they have planned that along the freeway, however.
Right. Well, the next few clips kind of gets into it. So if you'll fast forward to 5 through 6:15.
It wouldn't be a good thing for cities. So, is it a good thing for cities or not?
In terms of autonomous driving, the benefits are just so overwhelming, right? It's just a matter of time. The death caused from accidental driving, from drunk driving, is one of the leading causes of death around the world. In comparison, autonomous driving would save so many lives. From a public health perspective, this would be incredible. Now, that doesn't factor in the amount of costs you would save. If you look at, for example, Lyft and Uber, their largest cost is actually drivers. And take away drivers will really reduce transportation from a vehicle to a service. I mean, we think about turning on electricity, turning on water, but then most of us buy a car that sits 99% of the time idly, doing nothing. It's one of the most inefficient things that we've built over the past 100 years. And when you have autonomous driving, you really turn that product into a service. And then think about it, if you don't need a driver's seat, the vehicle itself could become a place of entertainment, of learning, of workout, etc. It's really a new service product in movement.
Bullshit.
So what do you think of that?
Bullshit.
I was just imagining somewhere in between like a sauna car and
A rave
Pilates
car.
workout.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. It's bizarre. So I also I work in the chiropractic industry doing medical billing, and so I do see a lot of accidents, and I've been in a few accidents myself. I've also seen a lot of almost accidents been able to be saved because you were able to make a quick decision and turn your
Right.
car the right way. And so, like seeing the Ride the Ducks accident that happened on Highway
Yeah, what a
99 here in
terrible.
Seattle, like that, things like that, like I can't imagine what autonomous driving vehicles would do in a situation like that. And how do you retrofit? Like, are they going to gift all these cars out to everybody?
Well,
Because
yeah, that's just it. Nobody can afford to buy them.
well, there are quite a bit on the road already in Seattle, and it's obnoxious. I've had to I was downtown Seattle. There was construction happening in front, but the car was clearly only programmed to go straight, but the road wasn't. There was no way to go. You had to turn, and the car sat there for 40 minutes.
Oh my God.
You could tell nobody was driving, because a lot of people come over, that don't have the driving skills. And so they spend the 50 grand and buy their auto driving Tesla, and they just put it on auto program. But I don't know how that works in in some of these cases, but, or
I
how they
think
think it's going to work.
I think the next clip is the most shocking because they talk about how it's going to impact our children. And that was the 709 to 806.
What is your take on the future of automated driving?
I think it's inevitable,
Inevitable.
but humanity has to figure out the best way forward. And we are experimenting, doing various things, and we will come up with something that works for everyone. If you expect people to change their behavior overnight, it's not going to happen. There is something called continuity of experience. You can't expect people to stop driving tomorrow. That being said, maybe our children will never learn to drive, and for them, automated vehicles will be a part of their life.
So you're talking about a time frame of 10 to 20 years. Is that what you predict?
I would say 10 to 20 years is a good time frame. Not for technology to be built, but the adoption of the technology.
So not only is it shocking that he says that our children will probably never learn to drive, which, okay, I can see technology evolves, so we're going to have to evolve on that, and the need for it won't be there. But the most fearful part for me is they don't even address any kind of health concerns. I mean, it's not even a fucking thought when we are talking about this new future that's coming and the internet of all things. It's just hurry up and build these things so we can get the whole new system up there. I got up at 3:30 the other night to go out and try to look for that comet that's, I just wanted to see it. But I didn't see the comet. I saw these brand new fucking satellites that I had never seen in my life that are in our low atmosphere now. It was shocking how big these things are. I know that you're schooled on, I don't even want to say 5G because I know it gets us knocked off so many platforms, but that's the problem. We're not talking about the major health concerns, the health problems that are coming our way because of all of this technology that we're planning on implementing. I mean, to get a car to go down the road on a freeway, like you're saying, we have to have connection spots every, so many feet for these cars to keep getting their information. What do you think about all that?
Yeah, I as a mother, as a citizen, I am very concerned for our health and the potential health impacts because they haven't studied the health.
And they won't.
We've asked and it's been brought out straight in Congress. No, we have not. None of these companies have studied the health impacts because they don't want to. So they would rather focus on the economic impact about how amazing this is going to be and how it, Trump made it our #1 national priority and was going to pull out the stops on anything, and look at Tesla's gone up 212% in stock value this year.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody buying a goddamn Tesla. Like, this is
Yeah, who the
insane.
fuck can afford a Tesla? I could tell you, I was very impressed with Elon for many, many years. I was always following everything he was doing development wise, and now I just think he's an overgrown man child who has too much fucking money, and he's chasing his childhood dreams at the expense of people, and I'm not that impressed with him anymore.
Yeah, I try not to follow any of the personal things that they happen to do, but it just seems like every time, from the Howard Hughes kind of complex, I like to call it.
Well, yeah, even Bezos does it. It's whatever they dreamt of as a small boy is what they decide they're going to build and do as they, once they get mega rich.
Yeah, it is concerning for sure. I don't know how this plays out. I don't know how, at some point they would either have to provide them, or it's going to be such a luxury item, then they're just going to ban everybody else off the roadway. I know my 14-year-old knows how to drive, scratching at the itch, but, she's firstborn female.
We know how that is.
So, I know a lot of kids that have been forced to have to learn how to drive because they don't want to. Their anxiety levels are so high that they just don't really function in that level. And so driving anywhere is super, super stressful. They don't know how to navigate. I grew up in the woods. I learned to find this, I can navigate north by the stars. I can look at the mountains and know which way is north and south if I'm on a trail. And, some people can't, direct themselves anyway in any part of the country, and I've just always had that kind of bearing where you have to know where you are.
I have an internal compass. I always tell people that it's pretty hard to get me lost. I mean, I always know where my true north is for some reason.
Yeah, they're actually, I was looking for jobs, and they are hiring for a 5G permit technician. There's probably about 15, 20 different, tech jobs. So they're trying to implement this as fast as humanly possible without studying any of the health impacts. And so,
and we know that the media has been bought up by the telecommunications companies. AT&T paid the Washington Post, millions to run full page ads on how wonderful 5G is going to be when it's rolled out. There've been laws passed that we're not allowed to ask for environmental impact statements or medical studies on the effects of 5G on our environment, let alone ourselves. There's so much misinformation when it comes to 5G because they're just so quick to shove it down our throats so they can make a buck. And that's why I'm so excited about your show, Brave New Future. You tackle topics like this and you follow the money. And you want to tell people what day you're on so they can check you out?
Yeah, I will be on tomorrow. I'm on Friday nights starting at 7. Yay. So we, I'm trying to not overwhelm myself with it and really get good scheduled guests. So right now I'm only doing every other week. Occasionally we bump it because of other things like conventions and conferences. So, I just base this off my favorite books and, kind of where I've always thought the world was going. We were always going into some kind of crazy dystopian sci-fi future. I had no idea when I really nailed it down that I'd be launching during the COVID experience.
During actual new
and
future.
It would actually be living the scenarios I was hoping to talk about. So,
right.
We have to stand up. We have to, really, it takes so much effort and so much organization for people and communities to be able to put a stop to these things. But we have to, because if we don't, we're going to end up like those farmers. They sold their seed rights, and it's devastated our health and our environment ever since. And if we don't put a stop to it, they're going to, it's unfettered capitalism. They're going to keep going after it.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing the in late stage capitalism. Sandy says technology won't stop. Yeah, you're right. It won't stop. And we utilize technology. I'm excited for new technologies, but we also have to be smart about the way we implement it and who's actually in control of it. And that's where we've lost it.
And I love science. I'm the biggest one of the biggest science geeks I know. Right. But I also am so painfully aware of how corrupt it's become and how polarizing and how they've stopped independent research and the money has corrupted our universities and our schools. So
right, the scientists used to be the one fallback that we could go to that weren't corrupted, but now they're so corrupted. I mean, just look at Fauci and the crap we see with him and his patents and the money he's made. And how do you trust that? I trust science. I just don't trust these corporate elite bootlickers that are toting it.
Yeah, you have to do your own research, and our Moms Across America motto is, nobody does better research, like the FBI than a mother right. on a mission.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Any of the people that I know in all of these movements, man, we are like some of the most well-read, researched. Like, no, we don't have to be doctors or do the physical research. We've gone so deep into this that we can spout it at the drop of a hat.
Yep, that's exactly it. That's it. When I first, you guys were trying to talk me into doing a show, it was like, no, what do I know? I live this all day, every day. I read everything. I watch everything, it's there. I just, got to utilize it. Amber, thank you so much for coming on with me today. I love getting to know you a little bit better. I so enjoy working with you, and everybody check out Amber. She's on Friday nights with the Brave New Future, and you can catch her pretty much every day on the Daily Dive at 10 a.m. on Uphill Media with me and Oz LaFave and Rhonda, if we can ever find her. And all of our guests that stop by. So just a couple of announcements. I've launched a new YouTube channel under my actual name, Chanda Masta, the Accidental Activist. So you're getting exclusive content over there. Of course, we run the Accidental Activist on Uphill Media and YouTube and Rokfin, of course, but you can catch stuff that you don't normally see over there, like me gardening or me randonauting with my children. And I also have a Patreon now. So if you join my Patreon, the first few people will get a signed copy of Ralph Nader's book, How the Rats Reformed Congress. How the Rats Reformed Congress. My daughter's blowing my phone up for some reason. I keep sending it to voicemail. She keeps calling.
Something better be on fire.
Right, exactly. Somebody better be in trouble. So,
always
okay, well, we are going to get out of here so I can find out why my phone's blowing up. And
thank you for having me, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chanda. Oz.
Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Oz. You did a great job tonight.
Where's the sound? Where's the sound?
It won't play?
Can you hear me?
I can barely hear you.
Where in the hell is the sound? Can you hear me? Can you hear? We do have sound. We have to have
Just
sound.
Sing it for us, Oz.
Let's sing it.
They can see it.
They can see it, but why can't we hear it? I love this song too.
I don't know why. It should be playing just fine.
Well, this is one of the roughest shows I've done. Thank you for being on it with me, Amber.
Yeah. Tech.
That is so weird. Well, you can read the words. Amber's lip syncing it. They say they can hear it. How come we can't hear it?
Yeah, and everybody, we can hear you. Okay. So, whatever. Jesus. Oh, well, good night, everybody.